Hello there and welcome back to 4 Times in a Podcast. You join us on the 1st of September. It's the early hours of transfer deadline day and we are here to talk about mainly the game yesterday, which saw Celtic draw 0-0 with Rangers at Ibrox. Sees them stay top of the league on goal difference ahead of Hearts and 6 points ahead of Rangers as we go into the first international break of the season. Obviously transfer deadline day, but there's still full of Monday to go for us, so we'll probably come back and discuss the transfer window as a whole after that, after I'm sure Celtic gets 6 or 7 deals done today that have been holding in reserve. But it's myself, Darren, here with Tony and Danny. Andy's having a nice wee holiday, so I hope he's enjoying it. Tony, I'll come with you. It was very predicted that this could be the worst game of all time. I think I actually says that on here last week and says I wouldn't put you off backing a 0-0. Obviously I hate money, so I didn't back it, but hopefully a few people did. But it definitely lived up to that billing. It was two terrible teams and an absolutely terrible game.
It was fucking abysmal. It was shambolic to watch. Two dreadful, dreadful teams. Oh, it's such a bad game. Such a bad game. I mean, but not a surprise. I wasn't surprised how bad they were, and I certainly wasn't surprised how bad we were. We know we're bad. We've watched us. We couldn't score into Kairat Almaty, so any notion we were going to go to Ibrox and run riot, despite how bad they are, was a nonsense. We looked totally devoid of any ideas. Ralston to Schmeichel to Vickers to Scales to out the park to having to defend to Schmeichel to Scales to Vickers to Ralston to out the park. I mean, fuck me. I mean, there was times where we were charging full pelt back towards our own goal. There was just the stats are terrifying. They're terrifying, these stats. Alloa had more shots on target, scored twice into them. I think St Mirren had 8 shots against Rangers in the first half. We had none. Like, how have we become so bad? Like, surely you watch them against Bruges and you go, right, they've conceded just about all our goals for balls into the box. Why don't we just go long, get the ball in behind, get the ball into the box and just fire? But no, didn't do it. I think we had 2 shots on target, a Hatate back pass and a Kieran Tierney overhead kick. I don't give really anybody past marks. I mean, I think Scales and Vickers defended okay, but Rangers offered absolutely nothing. 0. Didn't have a shot on target. I was just glad the game was over. It's just, I don't know what's going on at Celtic. The fact that we let Adam Ida go, recalled him, never put him in the squad, and now he's away again. It's just amateur hour. And I says on this podcast that if we lost, it wouldn't be Brendan's fault, and I was planning a kind of big defence of him. And then we get to his press conference on Friday, where he made a comment that I actually was astounded by and very insulted by, to be honest. He says that the Celtic board bleed for Celtic. Now, I've heard managers say some really, really stupid things. That is the worst thing I think a Celtic manager's ever fucking said. An absolute insult to the fans to say that these people bleed for Celtic. These people bleed the Celtic fans dry. They do not bleed for Celtic. They do not care about Celtic. And Brendan then contradicts himself because he goes on to say that Big Ange had complaints, Neil Lennon complaints, and he's had complaints about the transfer activity, and nothing's been done to fix it. So don't tell me these people bleed for Celtic, but they've got no real interest in fixing the problems that we have. I mean, what a thing to say to the Celtic support, who, after getting papped at the Champions League because of the board being absolutely inept, and the CEO being inept, and the major shareholder being inept when it comes to football. I mean, just to come out and say that, bleed for Celtic, like come out and say they love Celtic, say something, even though it's bullshit, come out and say something like that. Don't say they bleed for Celtic when fans are piling in every pound they've got to go and watch that. Absolute shite. So for me, I thought that was an outrageous comment, just really, really, really ridiculous, and one he didn't need to make, no unless he's been told he needed to make it. But even then, if Dermot Desmond tells you to say that, surely you just go, no, what, get you to fuck, I'm off you, I've had enough. So for me, just totally ridiculous comment, and then they go and put in that display. I mean, you could, after watching that, I think you need a new midfielder. I thought Callum McGregor, we were laughing about it before we hit record. He never done anything for 92 minutes, and then the 93rd minute he decides to stop the ball just outside our box, stop completely and start pointing fingers and directing traffic, and then loses the ball. I mean, just amateur for a guy who's a very good player. So we need a strong midfielder, somebody who can actually tackle. Been saying it for a while. Our midfield's weak as piss. I thought Engels was garbage. Hatate was garbage. Ralston, holy fuck, was just not good enough. Tierney looks a bit short, to be honest. Can't last a game. There's a time Gassama flew past him as if he wasn't there. Schmeichel, risky when he didn't need to be. That goal they scored, I think we're very lucky it was offside because he was in absolute no man's land. Thought Maida worked well. Thought he tried his heart out, but there was nothing really happening. Balak we shall give him a pass. I'm not going to start hounding him. Negred, hopeless. Thought James Forrest was okay when he came on. Had a really good bit of play, beat somebody, and then he just fucking decided to launch it right out of play, and Negred never bothered trying to go for it, so that was a bit of a disaster as well. Who else came on? Yamada. There's one who went through and just it was nowhere near getting it. Luke McCowan, I don't really remember him touching the ball, and then Bernardo never really seemed to get a sniff now. I don't know why I would have put him on last time. Ibrox, or sorry, a couple of seasons ago, he set up the goal for Big Ida. But I just thought we're in a total mess. I mean, I think anybody that I can understand people being happy with that because we're that fucking bad and it's at Ibrox and you go, that's actually a really good result because we are shit. But I don't think it'll make any difference if we don't sign players today. Like, if we don't get quite a few reinforcements in, I think we'll lose the league, and I think we'll lose it quite handsomely because we're going to drop points all over the shop because that team's done. That team is desperate for refreshments. I'm not saying the players are done, but is that unit with any reinforcements? That is totally done. No, that it's just can't score goals, can't create. Defending okay, you give them their dues. No conceded a goal. And I have to, I did say I would read this comment. We get a comment on YouTube. This guy is Kevin Carr 365. I hope you're listening, Kevin. You're obviously a big fan. Your first comment was, "Feel free to sell me your season tickets, boys." So obviously Kevin, an uber diehard Celtic fan who wants to buy your season tickets. I don't remember us ever saying they were for sale, but of course, if you're criticising the board, you must relinquish your season tickets immediately so that Kevin can go in and wave a big flag saying, "I love you, Peter, I love you, Michael, I love you, Desmond," even though they don't give a fuck about you, Kevin. But anyway, you then made another comment which was hilarious. What gets me about cancelling the home ticket scheme, the mind Kevin's not got a season ticket, so he's criticising us for the home ticket scheme, is they will be the first ones for the later rounds if we get there. Kevin, we've no won a knockout tie for fucking 21 years. What fucking later rounds are you talking about? Jesus Christ almighty, man. I mean, God almighty. So I found the comments good. So if they sell our season tickets to Kevin, and when we get to the later rounds, which we've never got to for 21 years, we'll be the first looking for tickets. So yes, Kevin, if we get to the later rounds, which we probably won't, I won't be looking for tickets. But because you're not a season ticket holder, you're not in the Home Cup ticket scheme, you wouldn't get them either. So yeah, that's stupid comments handled. But I just don't know. I don't know what it is with some of your fans. Just this major defence of the board who are weakening us by the second. But that's up to people. People are entitled to their opinion. Kevin's entitled to his, but we're entitled to a response, and that's mine. I think he's talking absolute shite.
There you go, Kevin. I'm sure you appreciate the response. I'll put Tony's sort code and account number in the episode description if you want to send the season ticket money. Danny, how did you see it yesterday? As I said, I thought both teams were pretty terrible. Do you reflect on, as Tony said, we've still not conceded a goal in the league. We're 6 points ahead of them. I know we're joint with Hearts at the moment, but do you take these sort of positives out of it, or is it hard to win the performance? Well, the game in general was just so lacklustre.
I think the positive is we didn't get beat to the worst Rangers team I think I've seen in many a year, and I've seen some bad Rangers teams. I just thought our whole mentality in the game was so wrong, and Tony's covered quite a lot of it, but for me the thing that angered me the most about it is I don't think we had to be that much better to actually win by a couple of goals. Lost count of the amount of times you actually won the ball high up the park or in the middle of the park or in good positions when they had overloaded, and yet the first pass was always backwards. And ironically, the only time we actually did play a forward pass after winning the ball was when Don Robertson called it back for a foul, when it was just no a foul on McGregor. Was it Balakwisha put Maeda through? And, no saying we would have scored, but it's the only time we actually won the ball high up the park and decided to try and score. Just thought the decision making across the whole team was really poor. I think McGregor's copping a lot of stick. Don't get me wrong, I don't think he played well, and that bit at the end was farcical. He's had a few moments like that recently, that daft back pass last week and seriously could have cost us. But Rangers' game plan for the last 4 or 5 years in these games has been to stop McGregor. So that should mean that we've got players free elsewhere on the park, and yet we do a really terrible job at finding them. Thought Schmeichel's distribution was very suspect yesterday. I thought Carter Vickers was our only attacking threat, basically, in the whole game. He broke out of defence a few times. I thought Scales defended well, but again, as Tony said, the only reason he defends well is because he usually gives the ball away and he's thrust into action. I thought his use of the ball is so bad, and people quote these pass completion stats and that, but he played a pass to, I think it must have been Hatate in the first 20 minutes. Like, Hatate's got 3 men running at him. Hatate's on the retreat to get the ball, and he just smacks it at him. And I think, obviously, Hatate wins, gets there first, so that will count as a completed pass. But about 30 seconds later, I think Rangers had a corner, and they spent about 4 or 5 minutes at the park. I just think his use of the ball really costs us in these games. These games are always going to be a battle. You know, gone are the days where we turn up and win 4-5-0 against this team. We've not had days since Rodgers' first day. We've let him have a hook a few times, notably last year, and under Ange a few times. But realistically, these games are always a battle, and we don't ever look like capable of winning the battle. Like, I didn't think they were any good, but like I felt sorry for Engels and Hatate yesterday, and I don't normally feel sorry for Hatate, but I thought Hatate's spent most of the game running towards his centre halves. I thought every time Engels get the ball, especially in the first half, he was trying to at least go forward with it. There's a few times he tried to swing it round in behind. I know that Rodgers wants to keep the ball and Celtic should be attacking and keeping, but how many teams need to show us that if you get the ball in and behind their defence, you will get chances? And even when they were trying to play out for the back, they looked dodgy, yet we didn't seem to want to exploit it. And I know everybody said it's more likely to be a nut in each, but both teams seem to accept their fate after about 65 minutes. And I just didn't think they were very good. And I came away from the game thinking, do you know what, even if we were a wee bit better, we probably would have won 2 or 3-0. And I thought Yamada made a big difference when he came on. He surprised me. He actually put his body about. He got about a few bodies, and I think he dared 2 centre-halves. Pinned. I think he won fouls after 2 of them. He got us up the park. He was really unlucky with that one. It was a good ball before us. He was just a fat off it, or he'd have been in. But he impressed me. But just no real attacking threat, no real urge to go forward. It was really disappointing because I don't think they're very good. Now, Tony's saying we'll lose the league, but I don't know who we'll lose it to. Because, I mean, Hearts, if you're Hearts and Hibs, right, you must be looking at that thinking, we'll never have a better chance. If we can beat everybody else and hold our own against these teams at home, Rangers aren't going to beat us to the league. Unless they sack their manager on the day and bring somebody else in. Because we're 6 clear of them without doing anything. They've not won a game yet. I don't see them winning it. You're looking at Hearts and Hibs to go on a bit of a mad run that none of them will. I mean, Hearts are pulling goals out the fire late on in that, but I think Celtic could win the league with a record low points total this year. I think we'll be good enough to beat teams 1 and 2-0 every week, but as an attacking threat, it's non-existent. I mean, I thought Balikwisha, it's hard to criticise him. It's his first game. He had a few times he could have ran at Tavernier and they never. I don't know if he was been told to be conservative, and he tried a few early balls into the box, which I was quite supportive of, but there was no fucker in the box to go for it. So I'd like to see more of him. I'd like to see him kind of go at people. Negren, I don't know where he plays in this team. In the 4-3-3, I don't know where he fits in. I think his best role might be a free role in behind the striker, but Rodgers doesn't seem to play them. Again, I said I felt sorry for Engels, but you want to see more for these people. Engels should be getting the ball and driving forward. He seems to, again, like, I get the fact that you could be looking forward and you don't see anybody and you think, oh, I need to go back away. But I'd like to have seen a midfielder get the ball and fucking go through. Just run with it. Just take it as far as you can. I thought there was so much space for us yesterday, especially in the middle of the park and down the right-hand side, and we never exploited it once. Just disappointing, and kind of, again, although we all said for it would be not an each, it'd be the worst game ever, even when it plays out like that, it's not very enjoyable. And again, just to see us be so conservative and so negative in our approach, it's really disappointing because it's not like they were any good. And genuinely, I came away from the game thinking if we were 5-10% better, we'd have won that game pretty comfortably. And it's just disappointing that when teams like St Mirren, and I know Bruges and St Mirren, there's fucking worlds between they two, but like Motherwell and Dundee and Alloa, they show you how to get in about this team. And then for us to go there, it just smacked a wee bit of arrogance for us that we thought, we'll just play our game and it'll be good enough. And our game's not been good enough all season. I mean, we've eked out wins here and there, but, we're not. People say we need a striker. We do, by the way. We absolutely need a striker. But we don't get enough chances for strikers. So, people like Ida and that are, obviously not good enough and Ida's away, and, we wish him well and that, and it's not been good enough for Ida, but it's not like he's missing hundreds of chances. It's not like we're creating chances for these guys to miss. And you think, see if we had a real poacher or a fucking natural goal scorer up there, you put anybody in that team now and centre forward and they'll struggle. Maeda came short a few times yesterday, won the ball a few times, but I thought his use of the ball was quite poor. I want to see Maeda getting the ball and running at folk. Didn't really see it. I thought the longer the game went on, we might have nicked it, Darren, but it was just disappointing to see it so negative. And obviously the day will define how a lot of the rest of the season goes. But I don't know, it was quite. It's upsetting, might be the word, but it was quite upsetting to see us be so negative in a game where we didn't really need to be that good to win it.
I agree with that. I think you pointed out there that St Mirren, Motherwell, Dundee, Alloa, Bruges, even Panathinaikos and Pilsen, every time they had a go at them, they got in behind. It felt like every time the teams played like a sort of long ball through, they'd either get a man sent off or you'd get a clear-cut chance. And I think it was either complete arrogance or ignorance from Rodgers and his coaching team that they just didn't seem to want to do that. It was like, we're too good for that, we'll just bore you to death with side-to-side passes. I thought we were really poor yesterday, but thankfully we were up against a really poor team, which helped us. And I think that you could tell early on that we just, first 10-15 minutes, we always say you can usually get a feel for these games, but I think we probably had the most possession in that spell, but we weren't doing it. There was no real, I don't know what our sort of style is in now. You think I think back to like Rodgers' first time and how important and how exciting your guys like Sinclair and Roberts and even James Forrest to an extent was back then, like, and there's just nothing in now. Like Negren, I just don't know what he brings. I thought moving him outright would help. I don't think it does. I think he never want to write a player off after 3 weeks, but I just struggle to see what he's bringing to the team now. And Balikwisha, obviously his first game, you took a bit of stick about saying that people would write him off after that, but I went on my phone at half time and at full time and a lot of people were having a real go at him. And look, he's not had time to really settle in a team, so he will get time, but I'll not make an excuse for him because you can obviously expect more. I thought he really didn't seem to want to take on his man too much, but there was one time where we did go a bit more direct and he sort of shrugged Tavernier off and he was busting through into the box in the first half, and Don Robertson, who was awful, no even 50-50, no 60-40, but 70-30s and 80-20s in our favour, he was going to Rangers, and he refused to allow us to play out that attack, which I'm pretty sure their guidance is that you let the attack play out, and I'm not saying we would have scored, but even if it had came to a natural end, you can then go back and gain him the free kick. For us to be in that position it was just awful from him. I thought he was terrible, and I agree. I was defending Liam Scales in our group chat last night. I think he's a decent defender, made a few great blocks yesterday, but I think it's crucial that people realise that can be true, completely true. I'm with people who, like I've always said on here, if he's a no-nonsense defender, backs against the wall, he's the type of defender you probably want in your team, but we're a team that look to be knocking the ball out from Schmeichel to the two centre-halves and then trying to bring it out with the centre-halves, and Vickers managed it a couple of times in the second half yesterday, but I just don't think Scales is capable of it, and he's too slow to get his passes away, and it just, their sort of attackers, Mikey Moore and Miofsky and that, they just sort of camped on our edge of the box because they knew that's where we were going and they could put us under pressure, and there was times where I felt we were pinned in, and look, I think the midfield was missing yesterday. I thought all three of them were poor. I thought Engels, every time he got the ball, he didn't even seem to look forward. It just seemed to be straight back to a centre-half. Hatate was a bit side-to-side as well. I know he had a couple of shots in the second half, but I've said it often enough, if he's not winning the game, you're as well with him in the stand because he just doesn't bring much to you. And then McGregor, I thought was really poor. I seen for somebody who should be probably the most prominent in taking the ball off the centre-halves and driving us. I was saying to you in a group chat there, I think he only touched the ball 56 times yesterday and Schmeichel was 62, so that just shows how little he was involved. Maybe that's doing what Danny says, the Rangers they're choosing to sort of try and mark him out of games, but I just thought he was so inactive, and as you mentioned, sort of just a complete switch off at the end, which on another day could have cost us. Fullbacks like Tierney and Ralston, again, decent enough defensively, but I don't think they gave us anything attacking wise, and I think our sort of the way we've adapted to Taylor leaving, like Tierney's obviously not an inverted fullback, but our whole system seems to be changed. Maybe that's where we're struggling in the midfield, because that was giving us an extra man in the midfield, and now that's missing, and we've not really adapted to that yet. And then Maeda, I thought he was better when he was out wide, but there was times in the first half when he was having to drop so far back that he was playing 1-2s with our centre halves. Now, whoever's playing centre forward for Celtic, that can't be the way. That can't be the most sort of profitable strategy for us, to that our centre forward has to drop to near enough the centre circle to get a touch of the ball, and then he's just playing 1-2s with our centre halves. And I'm going to, Rodgers annoyed me in that press conference. Tony was right to bring it up. I thought that the comments were ridiculous. He's so out of touch with the support, and part of me thinks maybe he is going to sign a new contract, because why else would he be putting himself on the line for it? And he came out yesterday, and I'll read the comment I seen, and he was asked about how was our possession too safe, and was it the plan to do that, and he said that I don't think you could go into a game as a Celtic manager and say pass the ball sideways or backwards. It's never been a plan for any offensive team. It definitely wasn't the plan. Well, if that's the case, Brendan, I want to know, what is the plan? Are the players not playing to your instructions? Is John Kennedy or Gavin Stratton telling them to do it? I don't understand what's changed, because it's good that we're top of the league. Champions League was a disaster, but the football is absolutely dire to watch. It is almost unwatchable at times, and it is so different. As I said, it's so different from the first spell when you had exciting attackers. You had your Lustigs and Tierney's bombing down the wings. You had Sinclair, Roberts, as I mentioned, getting you off your seat, and then even guys like Edward and Bailey, who are always involved as well. In the midfield, obviously, with Armstrong, McGregor and Brown. It was just such an energy-filled team. Now, maybe that's down to the team being at an end of a cycle. There's a lot of that team that's still Ange's team. So it's players that have been there 3-4 years, and we've just failed to inject that sort of new bit of energy into the team. And it's not even just that we're not getting it with new signings. We actively weakened ourselves in this game with the whole Alameda fiasco. Now, if we'd have said to Ida on Wednesday or Thursday, look, so once you're interested, if you want to go, we can sort it, but you're staying till Monday, or until we get our striker in. Obviously, we know the case is that we didn't get our striker in before yesterday. Now, the fact that was so publicly leaked, which led to Rodgers being asked about it, we sent him to Wales to complete a medical and discuss personal terms, and then pull him back, and he thought, surely he can't go into the squad because everybody knows he's on the verge of leaving and he's been in Swansea for a medical, and yet we call him back to Glasgow and then don't use him anyway. So he's just not in the squad at all on Sunday, and then he's back in Wales on Sunday night completing the second part of his medical, and looks like he will go today. Now, when Rodgers was asked about that, he said, I have no explanation for it. It's not Adam's fault or anything. Now, rather than be a shield for the board, and it's not even a shield anymore, he's as complicit as the board for me, Rodgers, but he should be saying who's made that decision, because there's no accountability at Celtic. No from the people that own us. Desmond's not accountable to anybody. Nicholson's just a yes man. Lawwell's just sort of a boogeyman, and Rodgers doesn't seem accountable for it. The captain's sort of, in my opinion, he's to own the team because he wears the armband. I don't think he's playing well. I know he was asked about it on Friday, but the question that came up, I think it was from one of fan media outlets, was, is there a lack of accountability at Celtic? And I think there is, because Rodgers should be naming it, saying, the head of recruitment or the CEO, he done that, he shouldn't have, because it made an absolute mockery of Celtic. And it means if we don't sign a striker, he does probably still away today. And because Celtic made it so public that we were willing to sell him and that he was willing to go, same with Yang. The fact that the managers come out and had to publicly say that he's happy for these players to go, yet you're still he was still saying, if they don't go, they'll still play a lot. It's a complete mockery that they think that they can come out with that, and as if Celtic fans are just going to accept the fact, these players don't want to be here, the manager doesn't think they're good enough, but you know what, we couldn't sell them or couldn't get replacements in, so we'll just get behind them and happy clap. It's the whole month and summer's been an absolute joke, and the days get a long way to go. Hopefully the day pull it out, but I have absolutely no faith that we're going to do anything notable today. I wouldn't even it's that bad. I wouldn't even be surprised if we didn't sign anybody and we just lost the likes of Yang and Ida and maybe sent Johnny Kenny out on loan, because the club sort of strategy at the moment seems to be to maximise profit and minimise efficiency. But that's what it feels like. It feels like we're not looking to progress in any sort of way as a club at the moment. But Tony, as I said, we'll probably be back tomorrow to discuss the transfer window as a whole. What's your sort of hopes for the rest of the day? We're recording, there's obviously nothing broke yet, but I'm sure as the day goes on, things will happen. Or do you think it could be a case of nothing happens?
Hopefully Desmond sells up, Nicholson's sacked, the rest of the board are sacked, and Lawwell's sacked. That would do me. I'd take 0 signings in that to happen. That would be the signing, the best transfer window ever. I don't really fancy us to do anything. I don't think the guy Holberg seems that interested in us. He's maybe had a look and went, fuck that for a carry on. These cunts haven't a fucking bastard clue what they're doing. I think irrespective, see if we go out and we get everybody we need in the and we do everything we need. People still need sacked. Nicholson needs sacked. Head of recruitment needs sacked. There'll be arguments the managers should be sacked, but that's not going to happen. But you're right, he is now culpable. He keeps backing these people up, and to say, oh, all these people talking about disharmony. There's massive disharmony. There might not be between the millionaires and the billionaires that are all talking to each other. They might all be holding hands and kumbaya, my lord. But the fans, the disconnect between the fans and the board is growing and growing by the day. So there is massive disconnect and disharmony, and I think it's probably filtered onto the pitch because the players are not immune. They would know how unhappy fans are. So I think for me, we've just made such an ass of the window. There's no justification for this. There's nothing that can come out and say that would be an adequate answer for this. People need to be held responsible. People need to lose their jobs because they have totally and utterly made a cunt of this window. They've cost Celtic upwards of 40 million with the failed Champions League, and I think they're going to cost us a league title. I know Danny says who's going to take it off us. I think eventually Rangers can't get much worse. They're still, see, to be honest, they've at least tried. They've spent money. Don't get me wrong. I know a lot of their fans aren't happy with the recruitment, but at least they've tried. At least they've actually spent a bit of money. We've actively weakened ourselves, and I know there still seems to be this big celebration we're selling Adam Eden. I just don't get it. I get people don't think he's a good enough player, but for January you've sold Kyogo, Kuhn, Ida, how many, and you've lost Jota, how many goal contributions is that you've got rid of? It must be about fucking 60, 70 between the three, and then Jota would probably contributed as well, and you've not replaced any of them. How can you fucking celebrate that? I don't understand it. As much as he does no very good, he got 20 goals last season. I'll tell you what, he would have probably been close this season as well, but his confidence is totally gone now. And obviously he's halfway to Wales. He'd probably be signed by the time this comes out, and best of luck to him. I don't hold any ill will against him. He didn't set his price tag. That was us making a cunt of it again. So I think he was a victim of his transfer fee, which was a mistake by Nicholson. Shock horror. But yeah, accountability. Just pick up your wages and crack on. But I just think we're a mess. I actually think that Rangers might end up having a kind of stronger squad than us, and I know a lot of people will be fucking clamouring to disagree with that, but I just think we're just so weak, it's quite incredible. Alistair Johnson out for 12 weeks. You're getting into the Europa League, and I don't fancy us at all. There's not a team I'm going to definitely win that game. Whereas last season we were going into Champions League, and you're going, I think we can do alright here, and we did because we had a good squad. So we're in the space of a year, or even in the space of, for January, the way we've weakened ourselves and the way this board's weakened the club, it is incredible. And now we're in such a weak position on deadline day. Any club, I mean, Mad Mick picks up the phone now, they're probably going, oh, your fans really, really hate you now, Michael, so we'll add on an extra 2 million. Thanks very much. You know, they're just so daft, and they can't be daft. They're in these great positions, brilliant wages, making fucking fortunes. Can't be this fucking stupid, man. It's just, it's been a kind of, it's probably been the worst transfer window I think I've ever seen for Celtic. In 2023 was awful. Everybody we signed was fucking garbage. But this window, just so inept, and the manager's been banging on about quality for ages, and they've just not gave him a bit of it. They just have not given him anything. So for me, I mean, if I'm Rodgers, I'm probably regretting big time saying I'm staying for 3 years, because you imagine he stays and he loses the league to Russell Martin. Fucking hell, he'll not get another job again. And this attempt to repair his relationship with the Celtic fans, I don't think that'll have worked. So for me, I think we're in such huge trouble. 6 points clear or not, I really think that's irrelevant at the minute. There's players playing for us that I don't think Hearts would take. Like, I seen clips, I think it was the Hearts fan, you and Cameron, on a podcast, and you get these people outside Celtic like him and Chris Boyd going, oh well, even if you spend this money, you're not going to win the Champions League. And it's just the most fucking brain dead argument. It's like saying to a Kelly fan, what's the point in you spending money? You're not going to win the SPFL. Just don't ever spend money. It's just so stupid. And I think when Boyd says it, I think he's saying it for a position that he doesn't want Celtic to spend money. He's desperate for us to stay the way we are because he can see how shite we are. But there's guys like I don't think Ralston would get a game for Hearts. I don't think Yang would. I don't think Forrest would. Danny knows more about Hearts than me, but I don't think Scales would. You know, the stuff like that, we're just weakened ourselves to just a mad level. And you've got no longer the window to go. As I say, they might get it right and they might get some players in, but so much damage has been done that didn't need to be done. The fans against the board is really revamped again. That didn't need to happen. It really didn't need to happen. They could have been, they could have been efficient and they could have got the business done, and it would have been a kind of unified front. But the board have just, with their total mismanagement of this, have just caused so much division between fans who are obviously arguing back and forth. The manager's under huge pressures. A lot of fans are turning on him. The squad are an absolute mess. The players must be feeling it as well, because every time the manager says we really need quality, he's essentially saying the guys we've got aren't very good. So the board have just created such a huge issue for this club, and the sooner the lot of them are booted out the door and chased down London Road, the better.
Danny, what about you? Tony says it could be the worst transfer window of all time. Is there anything Celtic can do to resolve being hit with that tag today? Or I think I was talking to you last night about, I think it was 15 and a half years ago, Tony Mowbray's January transfer deadline day saw 3 players leave and 6 come in. Is it that sort of numbers you'd be hoping for the day, and what's your actual expectations?
I've got no hopes or I've not got any expectations that they'll actually pull something out the bag. I don't think they'll sign anybody, to be honest. I think if the Dolberg thing was happening, it would have happened last night. You'd have kind of woke up knowing that he was on his way. Seeing a lot of Maeda to Brentford talk now, because I think Brentford have just sold somebody, but who knows? I see they're after that Raksaki boy that Rangers are trying to sign for Palace at the start of the summer. Just a lot of what Tony said there. This is completely unnecessary. It's completely and utterly unnecessary that we're in this situation where there is a complete divide between the fans and even the players now. Like, there's always been, like, half the fans want the manager out. Every player's getting criticised for yesterday at some form or another. The players are obviously not immune to what's going on. They can obviously feel like there's a complete negativity around the club. And it's alright saying, Rodgers should have put a team that can beat Almaty, or Rodgers should have a team that can beat Rangers. There's a complete negativity around the club at the minute. There's not one Celtic fan went into that game yesterday thinking we were going to play Silky Fitba and win 7-0. There's a complete negativity. It was the worst game for us yesterday. That's why a lot of folk, myself included, were like, "I just geezer up each and move on to an international break." There's a negativity around the club now, which the board have not only fucking created themselves, but they've let it get worse and worse and worse to now we're at a point where, Celtic could spend 30 million on 2 players a day, and you'd be like, well, actually, we need another 2 or 3 more. We need, not only do you need quality, but we need quantity now, because we're letting players go left, right and centre, and we've not replaced them. There you go. Tony said there are 4 players at the team for January. Right, alright, Kyogo and Jota you can swap with us, so say it's free. But you've lost Kuhn, who, it's alright turning around and saying, but Kuhn didn't kick his arse since buying away last year. He still fucking contributed. He still had a great season. He still, 7 times his value or whatever, and we still get rid of him. And then you've got Ida, who, Tony said scored 20 goals last year. He's playing in a team that isn't creating chances for him. He's probably better off leaving, but where does it leave us if we don't replace him? People have moaned for months that Maeda's a centre forward. Playing Maeda through middle. He had a purple patch last year. That was it. He's never a centre forward. He doesn't hold the ball up well enough. He doesn't score, and he had a great goal scoring season last year, but he misses too many chances. He's clearly best suited to be out wide where he can get in behind. That's what annoyed me more about yesterday, is we've got players that can actually hurt these people out wide, and we never fucking used them. But in terms of signings, they probably need 4 or 5. Well, they definitely need 4. We're screaming out for a winger. We need a striker. I know we've got that Sriracha boy looked alright yesterday until he decided to commit a fucking stupid foul. Right, which let Rangers put the ball in the box. He looks like he could be neat and tidy out there. That could be fine. But we need players going forward, because we're not going to create chances. If we're not creating chances, we're not going to score goals. So there's a lot that needs done. The boy for Man City wasn't even on the bench yesterday, Simpson Pusey. He's nowhere to be seen. What's happening with him? Is he could go back to City today, but nobody would be surprised. We've seen Merriam in Celtic gear when he was sitting in the stands than we have anywhere else. I mean, he couldn't even make the squad. Bernardo looks like he's the odd one out as well. We're crying out for somebody with a bit of dig in the middle of the park yesterday, and he sat on the bench. McCowan didn't get on until the 89th minute. So I don't know, I think if I was a Celtic, well, I'm a Celtic fan, but if I was a Celtic fan who's sitting about waiting a day on Twitter and Sky Sports News, I'd just be prepared to be disappointed. But still a couple of years to go. We'll see what happens. But again, Tony's right, completely unnecessary. Most of the players that we'll sign, I get that some, like Dahlberg, for example, if we sign him, he didn't become available until Anderlecht were out of the Champions League and then the Europa League. I get that, understand that, these things happen. How they go out of these competitions, they want to hold on to players. Celtic should, well, we used to do that, we should be doing that as well. So there's no, like, that might become available later on. But fucking Sirachi could probably have been signed a month ago. Balikwisha could have been signed 8 months ago. It's just, like, when you think about it, right, Balikwisha, all this carry on, he signed for 4.5 million. Like, we'll probably make that the day when O signs for Stuttgart, which is fucking bizarre, by the way. Don't get us started on that. So, you know, again, this negativity, the pressure that these players are coming into, the international break's a godsend, because you could sign 4 players or whatever, whoever you sign, and then they get time to bed. I know obviously some of them will be the international teams, but there's a bit of a stay of execution for the next couple of weeks where maybe things might improve a wee bit and the team can come out and play a good bit of football and maybe get the fans back on side. But, like, it's just, I just don't, Tony said actively going against Celtic, and I don't know if you said on here, Tony, you said it before we started recording, but sometimes when you see what goes on, you think to yourself, what the fuck is going on? Because this whole situation does not need to be happening. We've just, you know, what if we won 4 in a row? We've won virtually every trophy in Scotland for the last 8 years, barring about 5 or 6, and yet you're at a stage where it looks bleak, and, you know, some Celtic fans will call you spoiled, some others will say you're a, you know, it's tough listening or whatever, but, you know, why are we in this situation? Like, we don't need to be. We don't even need to break the bank to be so much better than we were. And this whole thing about spending money, and, like, Tony touched on it with Boyd and that. Like, look at Hearts now. They're saying, oh, if Tony Bloom spends another 10 million, Hearts might win the league. Well, if Celtic spend another 10, 20 million, they might win a fucking knockout tie. Because where we were at in March against Bayern Munich was we needed 3 good players to get into that squad. So it's that, to us, that's about 20, 25 million maybe. 3 good, now, have we got 3 good players across the whole squad? It's fucking grim.
Aye, it's been a terrible summer, and look, I think we're so much weaker than, I think it's a year ago to the day that we beat Rangers 3-0 at Celtic Park, and even from then we're so much weaker, never mind years gone past. But I don't think we'll sign anybody. I think that we'll finally agree a fee for Dahlberg, and then we won't be able to agree personal terms. I says that to you in group chats and that. I think we've made a complete arse of it. And then apparently it came out that we actually touched base with him 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, when he could have maybe, I think we were quoted 10 million then, and that might have been the difference between us being in the Champions League or no, and we waited till we get knocked out of the Champions League and Anderlecht get knocked out of Europe, and then apparently late last week it was agreed that we'd 8.5 million, apparently it was all agreed, and then we submitted a lower bid, which is fucking, if that's true, it's just scandalous. And who knows, as I say, I think one of you mentioned that I don't think that he's desperate to leave Anderlecht, so I just don't see it happening. And then you've got the Tunisian boy who appears to be the one that's out in press conferences saying, oh, I've heard that Celtic are going to try to the end to get me and whatever, despite the Hammerby director saying there's no way we're selling now, probably because of how disrespectful we've been with our bids and that. But I think every stat seems to show that he's not very good anyway, so he'll probably be the one that we do end up getting in. And what annoys me most about it is Balikwisha and the Tunisian boy, apologise for getting his name at the moment, but they're both left wingers, and fucking Nicholas Cooper's a right winger. Why have we not brought in a right winger? It seems fucking ridiculous to me that Maeda, Balikwisha and potentially that new boy would be primarily left wings. So you're going to have to probably play one out of position until Jota's back, which I just think is completely scandalous the way we're in. And then you're getting linked with loans as well, and you're right to mention if we sent Pusey back there, and it wouldn't surprise anybody. Like, we're going to have Vickers, Scales, Trusty, Murray, Stephen Welsh will probably still end up hanging about as well, and Pusey, do we really need that amount of centre halves? Probably no. So fuck knows what's happening there. As you say, wasn't even in the squad yesterday. Near was Johnny Kenny, maybe he goes out as well, but we'll come back probably tomorrow. We'll probably need a day to recover from all the furious transfer activity that Celtic are going to make the day. I think the deadline's 11 o'clock tonight, so we'll probably wait to 7 until the English deadline shuts, and then sort of hunt around for scraps and overpay for the teams that have got a few rejects that they want to get rid of. That seems to me what our strategy will probably be. But thanks for taking time to listen to this. I know a long one, just hitting the 45-minute mark as we're recording, so hope you enjoy it. We will be back at international break, so plenty of time to record, and we'll do a wee transfer review. Probably take us about 5 minutes given how our transfer window's been, but I will be back later in the week to discuss that, and hopefully, as you are listening, we're sounding like idiots and Celtic have actually got off their arse and got a good few quality players in, but we highly doubt it. So make sure you're checking out 4 Times Our Podcast wherever you get your social media. Make sure you subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you're listening, and we'll speak to you later in the week. Hail, hail.